Hi, it's day something or other. I think it's Friday. So I was hoping to be home with my girls by tomorrow, but it's going to be extended a bit because they had a little bit of a cough and a little bit of a temperature, and it's weird because we don't know whether that was just kids getting that or whether I needed to stay away longer. Um, Pretty upset with the old diabetes and things for keeping me away from them for so long. Um, yeah, missing them quite a lot. Went outside last night at 8 o'clock to get involved with the clapping for the nurses and the key workers, everyone, supermarket staff, as far as I'm concerned, everybody, postman. I think I'm getting missed out on this. Um, you can still order stuff. Couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, I was outside clapping for the nurses, and as a nurse, well, I'm a qualified nurse, but I'm not a registered nurse anymore. I nursed for um, I was a nurse for 12, 13 years, and what struck me while I was clapping for the nurses, which was it was nice to do, um, was that I it's nice to show support for these people, especially. I know from the nurse's point of view, but actually this might even ring more true for the lower skilled workers, the healthcare assistants, the support workers, the supermarket employees, the postmen, um, the people working in the food factories, that gang. But as a nurse, I started nursing, and in 2007, and almost immediately with the financial crash, the public sector pay was frozen. It wasn't unfrozen. I think it is unfrozen now. Now that I've retired, they've waited for me to leave before they sorted the money out. But what happened was that I essentially earned more money the day that I qualified nursing as I did 10 years later. Now, I got company bumps just about, but actually, because the actual rate of pay was only increasing by 1%, whereas inflation may have been 2 or 3%, the cost of goods, the cost of fuel, the cost of rents, mortgages was getting more. In fact, most nurses were getting a 2% pay cut every single year. So for 10 years, that 2%, I was actually, I think in real terms, had less money when I stopped nursing to when I did. So with the clapping for the nurses, um, basically, if you voted Conservative at any point ever, you don't get to clap the nurses. You've chosen not to. Don't do it. Especially, again, I don't know about the other workers, but I'm assuming pretty much the same thing. You've chosen that people shouldn't have, that there are the haves and the have-nots, and fuck the have-nots. Nobody who voted for a me, myself, and I style of government gets to clap the nurses. Um, you can keep it because the time to show your appreciation for those people was at the ballot box, and you've chosen not to do that. And normally, people who've chosen to do it over and over again. And when this is all finished, we won't vote in a government who will improve public services. Everyone will scramble to help themselves again. So if you voted Conservative, don't go outside and clap the nurses. It's just like spitting in their faces. Don't do it. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Also, I'm hearing a lot. I lost my job due to my mental health. I didn't lose my job. I had to leave my job because of my mental health and because of my physical health was declining. Nursing again, I had given as much as I could, and it took away my health, my mental health, and my physical health. That is, again, that's nothing. That's what nurses, doctors, a lot of people in care in these frontline services, they expect that. Teachers are similar. It's more of a putting in job than a taking out job, for sure. So once I was used up and no good anymore, I was ready for some help from the system. So things like the benefits, things like help with my council tax while I wasn't earning any money, while I couldn't earn any money. And there is no help. It doesn't work. The system is appalling to fall into, especially when you're not well. If you're not top of your game and you're not able to fight your corner and to chase things. And now it's interesting because a lot of people are losing their jobs, a lot of people are losing their income, and suddenly the country has woken up and said, hey, you know, what is it, statutory sick pay? Now, I was on statutory sick pay for a long, long time. Or as long as I was allowed to be on it, it ran out and then I had nothing. I still wasn't well. I still couldn't work. That now people who the government or the rich are now becoming incomeless and not having an income. People are realising that you simply can't live on £96 a week. You simply can't live on our benefit system. People, while it's been this subclass, people at the bottom, people, the scum of the world, the country, who have had to survive on it, people have said, well, just go out and get a job. So, you know, but now people who, they're talking about profits. You know, if you've earned, I know a lot of self-employed people are still getting shafted by this. They haven't actually quite worked out that, you know, you need to help everybody, not just a few people. They're clinging on to this. Let's just help a few people and not everyone. We'd like to leave some people to be fucked. So there's still a lot of people who are going to get missed out by this. But, you know, they're talking about profits, up to profits of £50,000. You know how much profit a teacher makes each year? You know, none. Policemen, you know, profit of, you know, none. Nurses, no profit. None, never. Never a bonus. Never do the company say, hey, here's your, you know, here's a share of the profit. This is on top. This is not stuff we've worked for that you've been paid your wage for. This is over and above that. If I got extra money as a nurse, it's because I had to stay at work all fucking night because someone was sick and you can't go home because you can't leave people on their own. My paycheck a month's time would be a little bit more because they'd have paid me the minimum that they could get away with to do that, knowing that it wouldn't be, that I wouldn't say, hey, I'm just going to leave now because that's not enough money for me to not go home to my family tonight and stay and do a night shift, because that's not how nurses, teachers, the police, fire brigade, that's not how public service workers operate. So yeah, now that they've realised that the money that the people at the bottom are expected to live on isn't actually enough money to live on, they're sort of noticing. I just wonder how, again, you know, if you voted Conservative, ever, don't complain that £96 a week isn't enough to live on. You know, you're lucky you get it, because people don't really deserve it, you know, just work harder. You know, your granddad should have worked harder or something, you know. It's, yeah, landlords are getting shit, probably quite rightly. I don't know, it's very interesting to see how good people's memories are when this rolls round and they say, you know what, I'm going to vote for someone. I'm very sort of on the left, so I know that I will have a certain amount of bias towards that, and I will think that that is the right way of doing it. But it seems very straightforward that we should look after each other. That right now nobody should be losing their home, nobody should be worried about food to feed their family while we're all trying to work together. Prince Charles had a test for COVID-19. How did he get a test for it, where there will be a doctor right now working, not knowing if he or she has got COVID-19 or had it, or the person they're working with has got it, and they haven't got protective equipment. And not having protective equipment isn't to do with, I know this because I've worked with in the system. I know it's a choice made by people higher up the ladder. It's a choice about rationing supplies to save a tiny amount. I worked for a few years in private healthcare, and it was appalling. The skimming off to absolutely minimise costs, and that will be what's happening with this. They will have minimised costs so much over so many years that now when they suddenly need, a hospital needs to have 5,000 face masks delivered, they're literally used to ordering 200 at a time, and they haven't got there's just no precedent for them to say, oh yeah, we just need to order a little bit more this time because obviously we're having an outbreak. That just doesn't exist. They just have no concept of doing the right thing. Yeah, just thought I'd have a little moan because I'm seeing a lot of people pulling together, which is very nice, obviously, but a lot of it makes me very cross because everybody wants the health workers to be praised, to be paid, to be looked after, to be the supermarket workers, the people at the bottom of the pay ladder. But certainly it's proving not at the bottom of society. They're quite far up the ladder, really, aren't they? And people, it seems everybody, you don't see anyone saying, fuck the NHS workers, they wanted to be a doctor, so they're just doing their job, aren't they? No one's saying that. But that's what the Tories are thinking. And that's what you're voting for when you vote for them. You're voting to say, get on with it. You're not worth the worry. So yeah, I like the idea that everyone thinks we should look after each other. I don't like the fact that everyone's saying it, but not voting it. Seems weird. Seems like they know they're wrong, like they know it's not the right thing to do. So, but yeah, Prince Charles getting a fucking test. How's he got a test? Ooh. I don't like the royal family at the best of times, and I wouldn't wish anyone ill. But yeah, weird that he has had a test. He had mild symptoms and he's had a test. And Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson have got it as well. They've had it, and I understand them having a test because they're obviously the Prime Minister and his goblin thing. And I understand that they, why would you would test those people in government? But I just don't believe that anyone has ever gone within 2 meters of Matt Hancock. I don't think that happened. It must be. I'm worried now because I've been trying to do this, staying that far away from people, and I'm thinking maybe that's not far enough because, surely no one's ever shook his hand or talked to him for any length of time. Jesus. They have to talk to Boris, don't they? Because he's like the Prime Minister. But anyway, I'm rambling. But anyway, that was just what I thought. Thought I'd have a moan. So, peace.